Hey everyone, this is your OG Original Gamer, and this is another Godforge video. Today we're going to give you our second synergy pairing suggestion. Lady Xoc, a Lady of the Sun from the Amaikan faction, and this champ, a champ who will make her kit bleed the life out of any tanky boss. This is going to be quick but informative, so without further ado, let's optimize. Alright, so about 2 weeks ago we put out our first synergy video, and it showed Guan and Anubis, who based on the kit we knew at that time, also had a drain debuff on his ultimate, and you could see here, this was where we showed it, and attacks all enemies, 35% chance to place drain 2 for 2 turns, okay? So that was the synergy we offered, but yesterday Simon showed Anubis's ultimate, and it looks very different. So instead of, the multipliers have changed a little bit. It was 200 attack, now it's 150. It was like 15 in max HP, now it's 25. It doesn't have a debuff at all. It has a barrier, which is an awesome buff. So it looks like Anubis's kit has changed in such a way that the first synergy we put out no longer makes any sense. It's busted, I guess you'd say, before it even got a chance to be started. So that is no good anymore, and I just want to put this out as a disclaimer to start this. Now we'll see how long this second synergy survives for. Just kidding. Hopefully it isn't like that. Or maybe we called out something that was going to be super powerful and broken, and they had to fix it. So that would be cool too if that's helping the game dial in. But yesterday we saw that Lady Xoc's bleed debuff. You know, we figured out what bleed does, and we have a better idea of how it can be stacked. 10 stacks equals 10% enemy max HP damage each turn, and that sounds a lot like a clan boss killer, similar to the way poisons work in Raid. Well, with that being the case, the best champ that we know of right now that we could pair with Lady Xoc and create a massive boost to her kit, someone who would be the night to her day, the one and the only King Arthur. Okay, we were here on Ragewood again. We went to Avalon, King Arthur. So we're going to talk about King Arthur and Lady Xoc as a pairing, as a synergy, okay? Little about King Arthur. Strength, red affinity, order alignment, defender class. He's tied with Heimdall for the highest defense in the game as a base stat. He has good HP and res. His speed and initiative are average, and you will need to build attack on him to max out his dual multipliers, as his base attack stat's pretty low, and you'll see in his kit that he has a defense and attack base dual multiplier. Also, his accuracy is very low at 37, and it will need to be built up because he has a debuff and a disable in his kit. So, let us talk about the kit and why it might be a good fit or pairing or synergy with Lady Xoc. Okay, so his basic attacks one enemy. It's 150% times defense and 75% times attack, and it has a 50-50 chance to place taunt for 1 turn. Okay, what does taunt do again? Taunt attacks, basically, if you put taunt on the enemy, they are going to have to attack you, and they can only use their base ability, and it does 25% less damage. So they're not hitting you fully, and they have to keep using their base attack, and they have to attack you. Kind of similar to how taunt works in Raid Shadow Legends as well. But, so he has a 50-50 chance to put taunt on the enemy, or at least one enemy. But the second part to the skill is what's really powerful. Place intercept for 1 turn on a random ally. No percentage, it just happens. If it was just him and Lady Xoc, that would mean every time she would get an intercept that he used his basic, she would get an intercept placed on her. And what does intercept do as a buff again? Well, it redirects the attack, so any of the enemy forces do attack her, it redirects it back to King Arthur. Okay, and it's stackable. So he can keep, every time he uses his basic, he keeps putting intercept stacks on Lady Xoc. And if she does get attacked, if the taunts don't land and keep them from attacking her, then the intercept will help direct that damage back towards him. There's also a very cool synergy with his passive. His passive reduces damage taken from intercept attacks by 50% and heals him by 10% max HP anytime he is intercepting damage from an ally. So imagine this. His basic puts the intercept on Lady Xoc every time he does his basic. Literally, he could do it every turn if he wants. And then anytime they do attack her, if they aren't taunted, then it will come to him for 50% less attack. And if they are taunted, it's coming to him for 25% less attack. And then if it's intercepted, he's also healing by 10% every time that happens for each champ that attacks her. So that looks pretty impressive. In addition, on his core skill, it increases the defense for Avalon allies by 10% up to 30%. That doesn't help Lady Xoc per se, but if we did have a team with more than just the two of them, that could help make them a tankier team as well. His core ability has a 5-turn cooldown. We'll probably see that scrolled down to 3 turns, I would say. So he is going to be virtually undefeatable. Like, he's going to be just a defense you can't get past if you set him up properly. And I think with Lady Xoc, that's going to allow her to just keep stacking bleeds till no end. Okay. So his core also places a debuff, attack down 2. So this decreases the enemy's attack stat by 40%, and this is an AoE ability. So in 75% of the time, the enemy is going to be hitting 40% with 40% less attack. They're also going to be taunted 50%, or at least one of the enemies is going to be taunted 50% of the time. There's going to be intercepts. They're really just never going to be able to hit Lady Xoc. And if they do, it's not going to be for very much. But his ultimate is what's really cool here, okay? So it would be really, really cool if his ultimate placed Retaliate on AoE versus just himself. But it's still really cool that it places Retaliate for 2 turns on him. We have not seen any other champion that has Retaliate. But this counterattack Retaliate mechanic can be very powerful. So it would be great, obviously, if it put counterattack on Lady Xoc and she could use her base skill over and over and over again. It doesn't do that. Maybe there'll be champs that do buff spreads or things like that. We'll see. We haven't seen anything like it. And we don't know anyone else who has Retaliate for an AoE in their kits. We haven't seen that yet. But the second part of his ultimate is what I think is really important. So it really hinges on whether the allies have higher defense than attack or attack than defense. So if they have higher defense than attack and they're a tanky support member of the team or defender, then it places Immortal on them for 2 turns. What is Immortal? It's that unkillable. HP cannot decrease below 1, and it's stackable, so duration reduces when triggered. So every time you take that attack, the Immortal stack is reduced, and he can keep placing it for 2 turns on allies every time he gets to use his ultimate. Now, that's not going to impact Lady Xoc because most likely as a Slayer, her attack is going to be higher than her defense. So it's going to place Vanish on her for 2 turns. So on top of having Intercept, she'll also have Vanish for 2 turns. So Intercept for 1 turn, Vanish for 2 turns, Taunt out there, Decrease Attack out there likely. She's really almost never going to get hit. Then, last but not least, King Arthur gains 100 divinity when he counterattacks. So he puts counterattack on himself for 2 turns, and there's intercepts directed to him, then he counterattacks, there's taunts directed, and he counterattacks, and I mean, there's AoE abilities by the enemy, and he counterattacks, and all of that gets him back to his ultimate that much faster. And we talked about his passive. Last but not least, there's one piece you won't see here, but his leader bonus is plus 35% HP in all battles. So not only is that going to help him be tankier, but it's going to help Lady Xoc as well to survive and to just keep putting bleeds on. And if her gear is allowing her to heal in some way, then these two could be a very powerful start to a clan boss team or an unkillable team. We'll have to see as we test it out. So, if we were to pair King Arthur, you know, the knight to Lady Xoc's day, we could potentially bleed the life out of bosses and barriers we face in the game. Other team members, if we were to add more than just these two, could possibly be an invoker who has, you know, speed-based healing, and that would really make it powerful. A debuff extender, if such a skill actually exists in the game. We haven't seen it yet. Any kind of effects or gear that would resist or block debuffs from being either placed on the team or thrown back at the team. So none of their bleeds or attack downs or any of their taunts come back at them. That would be powerful as well. None of those abilities we've actually, or none of those debuff extenders or those sort of things we've specifically seen yet, but we're assuming they're in some kits we just haven't seen at this time. All right, so folks, that's it. We're just taking a quick look at a possible synergy for Lady Xoc and King Arthur. If you liked it, hit the like button and subscribe. If you disagree, if you think it's a terrible synergy, drop it in the comments below. We're super open to other points of view, new perspectives, want to hear what you guys think. But I hope you like it and hope at least it can replace the Guan and Anubis synergy that is no more. We will see how long this one lasts. But remember, take care of yourself and play smarter.